Welcome to Theory of Pets. I'm a passionate pet owner with a drive to help others like me uncover the truth about the pet industry and what goes on behind the scenes. I have invited Dr. Vedrona Gjivoje onto my podcast today to talk about a topic that I think is really important for every pet owner, whether you have aging pets or not, and that is senior dogs. We don't typically think about how to care for senior dogs until they get to that stage. And it's something that, as the old saying goes, an ounce of preparation is worth a pound of cure. So if you can get prepared for your pets as they age and make things easier on them, it's better for their health. It's easier for you. It's easier for them. And there are some really simple, easy things that you can do to make life for senior pets a lot easier, and some things that you can do to help with those common health issues that pop up as our dogs age. Dr. Gjivoje is going to introduce herself, tell you a little bit about her background, and then get into some of that beneficial information for caring for senior dogs.
So my name is Vedrona Gjivoje, a little bit of a mouthful. I have been a small animal practicing veterinarian for about 25 years. I own my own practice for 23 of those 25 years with my partner husband, and recently sold it, moved down south, and am in the process of reinventing myself in the veterinary world.
That is exciting for you, certainly. And I had asked you on here today. We're going to talk a little bit about aging dogs and senior pets. That's something that I think a lot of people don't really plan on until their dog is at that stage in life. So we're hoping to educate some of our listeners about the things that they can do to notice signs of aging and caring for their older pets before they actually get there.
Advanced planning is always a good thing. So why don't we start off by talking about, what are some of the signs of aging? So first of all, when is your dog a senior dog, right?
Right.
So for me, if you poll 10 veterinarians, you might get slightly different answers, but let's just say by and large, for me, when they crest somewhere around 8-9 years of human years, I'm putting them into that senior category. If we do a 1-to-7 ratio, that puts them somewhere close to their 60s as a human, and I think by then we need to have a whole different standard of care and a whole different perspective on that particular dog. So some of the things that you as the dog owner might start to notice that should indicate to you that your dog is transitioning into that senior category are things really all the way from simple things like the fur on the muzzle is getting whiter, the lenses of the eyes, when you look at the dog's eyes, might look a little hazy, grayish, or bluish. You might notice that your dog isn't hearing quite as acutely, smelling quite as well, can't necessarily find the treats on the floor, or is having a hard time navigating, in the dusk or in the dark. Things that are not necessarily as obvious. Physically, your dog is probably going to be slowing down, so not moving as swiftly, taking a longer time to wake up in the morning and kind of stretch out of it, maybe having difficulty navigating stairs, maybe not really jumping up and down on that bed or on that couch or in and out of that car with the same ease as they used to. And then another thing that you might notice if you really look is their physiology, their anatomy is going to change, and they're going to start to lose some muscle mass. They're going to most noticeably in their forelimbs. You might notice that they're looking a little thinner. Your dog might spend a lot more time sleeping than he or she used to. And she might not be as mentally alert or as mentally sharp as she once was. So less interest in interacting with you, less interest in playing with toys, doesn't necessarily come to the door or greet you with the same exuberance as he or she did before. So I would say that's your pretty broad umbrella of most common changes that people notice in their dog as they transition from middle age to senior citizenship.
Sure.
Any questions about any of those?
No, I don't think so. And I know you hear the term geriatric used kind of synonymously with senior dogs. Is there a difference between those two terms?
To me, there isn't. Geriatric dog is a senior dog, is an older dog, is a silver hair. There isn't for me. So
yeah, I know, sometimes when you're looking for things on the internet, or some veterinarians will kind of use those terms synonymously. So I often have questions from our listeners about what the definition of a geriatric dog is.
Well, geriatric is kind of, I guess, the professional medical speak, where senior dog is more of the colloquialism, but they mean the same thing.
And our senior dogs, we talked a little bit about some of those signs and, some of the bigger things like the loss of muscle mass, but are they also at risk for certain illnesses that are more common in older dogs?
Oh, for sure. So as they age, there's a long laundry list, right? So anything from developing arthritis, almost every dog as they become a senior dog, if they're lucky enough to live to that age, is going to develop some level of arthritis. And with that is going to come some level of pain. They're most likely going to develop some dental disease in their mouth, so owners should take a look inside their mouth. And then you have all of what I call the usual suspects: heart disease, kidney disease, diabetes, cancer, and then maybe some glandular problems. So adrenal gland issues like Cushing's disease, or thyroid gland issues like hypothyroidism. Those are kind of the big players.
And what things should pet owners be thinking about? Obviously care for an older dog is going to be different. What things should they keep in mind that, we're going to need to change? One thing, that comes to the top of my mind is diet, of course, will have to change. And there's some other things we can do to take better care of our senior dogs.
So a pound of prevention, right, is worth, no, that's not how it goes. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Right.
So, planning for your dog's transition into senior citizenship is a great path to take. And as you plan, the things that you want to contemplate or prepare are you absolutely want to make sure that your dog is eating food that is on a high nutritional plane. So super good quality food. Because that's what they take in every day, right? So there you have an opportunity every day to put something good and wholesome into your dog. And I loved your podcast with Tom Eriks about human grade food, right? How can you tell and what do you do? So I'm a huge proponent of feeding your dog the highest quality possible. The money that you spend on dog food is, not that I want to shoot myself in the foot as a veterinarian, but I'd rather see you for healthy visits than for sick visits. So the money that you spend on good quality dog food is going to translate into less money ultimately spent in medical visits and medications.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's lots of brands out there, so I'm not particularly stuck to a single brand or one or two brands, but there's a lot to choose from. And if we want to go down into the specifics, I'm happy to go down into the specifics at some later point. The other thing that I think is vital to keeping a aging dog thriving is to keep them lean. Okay, lean dogs, just like lean people, tend to live longer. There's less work for their joints and their bones and all of their musculoskeletal body parts to do, and so they ultimately develop less arthritis, less pain. They maintain their mobility for a longer period of time, and then there's the whole thing about being healthy with the internal organs. So keeping your dog lean is really important, and that's a big one in this current day and age. I tend to see most dogs are on the chunky side. So if you have a dog who's a little bit chunky and hasn't quite hit his or her senior years, I really urge you to contemplate what can you do. Get with your vet, get with your healthcare professional, and talk about how can we lean that dog up. The next thing that I think is really important is to keep them moving. So exercising on a regular daily basis, maybe not 7 days a week if that's too onerous for you as the human, but at least 4 to 5 days a week. And qualitatively, the kind of exercise that you employ makes a difference. So doing things that are non-concussive, non-herky-jerky. Your 63-year-old aunt or your 63-year-old grandma might not do well playing racquetball or basketball. Might be kind of hard on his or her joints. And same thing happens to our dogs, especially if they are not lean. They're more prone to injury. So brisk walks on a flat surface on a daily basis or every other day basis, it's good for the owner, it's good for the dog, and it's good for the human-animal bond between the dog and the owner. I also think that, so the other thing that I'm a huge proponent of is, right, going back to that prevention quote that I said earlier, is giving them high-quality supplements from Mother Nature's pantry. So if you can provide your dog support through Mother Nature's pantry, you will, in the long run, hopefully be able to stay off tapping into pharmacology until farther down the road, and you'll have more tools in your tool shed to ultimately be able to offer your dog. So can I dive into a little bit of what I mean by, good quality supplementation for a senior dog?
Oh, absolutely.
All right. So I think that I really have 5 major categories. I think that all senior dogs should have a good quality all-purpose dog vitamin to make sure that they're getting all of their micronutrients that they need. I think that all senior dogs can benefit from the anti-inflammatory properties of omega-3 fatty acids that are found in fish oil capsules. So giving your dog 1 or 2, again, high-quality, clean fish oil capsules as a general purpose anti-inflammatory is an excellent way to support your dog in every body system. From a musculoskeletal standpoint, I think that there are 2 things that you can do that are key. One is to give them a good quality glucosamine chondroitin with MSM support, and this is addressing joints, bones, ligaments, tendons. And then the new kid on the block that I'm absolutely in love with is a muscle supplement called Myos. And it basically supports the health and the vitality of muscle. And we haven't had a lot in that particular category for almost my entire career, and it's come around, and it's just beautiful to be able to couple supplementation for bones and joints in conjunction with supplementation for maintaining muscle mass and muscle vitality, because they go hand in hand, right? Like a lock and key, like a hand and glove. And so that's what you can do to support the mobility of your dog and the strength of your dog and the fluidity of his or her movement. And then lastly, there are a whole bunch of supplements out there that also address mental clarity or mental lucidity to help your dog's brain stay sharp, stay focused, stay alert. And my favorite one happens to be something called Senalife. But I would definitely encourage you to help your dogs, not just the dog's physical body, but also your dog's brain, so that you can enjoy your interactions with your dog, and in reverse as much as possible. That's what I have for you, just as a broad category in terms of supplementation. And then my last and also super important recommendation is, this is the time in your dog's life that you absolutely want to have a really good relationship with your veterinarian or your veterinary team, and your geriatric, your senior dog, needs to go to the vet to be examined a little bit more frequently than your 2-year-old or your 3-year-old dog. So make sure that your dog is getting a good physical exam every 6 months at a minimum, so that you and your healthcare team can hopefully hone in on things when they're early on, when they're small, and when they're remediable, rather than waiting until a disease entity rears its ugly head in a well-developed state, and then you really have to work intensively to manage it, and sometimes it's just not manageable. So staying in contact with your veterinary health team on a regular, every 6-month basis as a minimum, all of those things, I think you'll be knocking it out of the ballpark.
Fantastic. And we talked about some of the natural supplements. One of the biggest questions that I get from people dealing with senior dogs is their dog has some issues with chronic pain. Typically, of course, it's arthritis. Do you have any recommendations to help pet owners if their dog does suffer from pain and physical issues, how they can deal with that without, a daily or multiple times a day prescription medication?
Okay, so I'm going to assume that this is a question that's coming from someone who's already covered all these bases, right? The dog is skinny, the dog is exercising, the dog's being checked out regularly to make sure that there is no underlying disease entity that's contributing to that problem, and you're already using the supplements that I've mentioned, right? The glucosamine, chondroitin, MSM, you've got the myosfortitropin. If your dog truly is in pain above and beyond this, in that natural category, there's always the new rage, the CBD oils, right? The CBD compounds.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think they have a place on the shelf at home. And again, highly variable. Some dogs derive phenomenal benefits from it, other dogs don't. So I think it's worth a try. But truth be told, if you're really doing all of these things already, and your dog still is in visible, discernible pain, it really may be time, Samantha, that we do employ some of the more classical pharmacological agents, in the category of pain relief, anti-inflammatory, at that point. And really that's a decision that needs to be made individually at the discretion of the owner in conjunction with the veterinarian.
Absolutely. And I mean, you've stressed it a lot already, but just to put it out there again, it is so important to be in close contact with your vet all the time, but especially, as your dog ages, just getting them checked out and you're both on the same page, and they'll definitely help you prepare for some of these things before you're actually having to deal with them.
Correct. There's other modalities for dealing with pain that don't require pharmaceuticals. There's laser therapy, so it's a light-based, wavelength-based therapy that basically ups the metabolism, right? Just to keep it simple, it ups the metabolism at whatever body part that you're actually waving the laser over, and it stimulates the influx of the dog's natural immune system to come into that place, remove the toxins, remove the inflammation, repair whatever the underlying either damage or inflammation is. And so that's also a wonderful way to offer some kind of pain modulation to your patient without having to give some kind of daily medication. And it's not something that needs to be done every day either. There's acupuncture.
Oh, yeah.
There's acupuncture as well. I think practitioners of acupuncture are not nearly as readily available as I wish they would be. But again, I encourage you to kind of Google it in your vicinity and see if you have a veterinary outfit that can offer acupuncture to your dog. Because again, I think some dogs derive amazing benefits from that. And, that's minimally invasive. Doesn't have to happen every day. And then there's the whole concept of, sort of Eastern herbal medicine, which I don't really know much about, so I can't go into that arena for you. But if you can find someone who's a practitioner of that, maybe there's some other herbal remedies that might apply to your dog that might help.
Yeah, speaking of the kind of natural approaches and the holistic way of treating animals, I do think, holistic vets, canine, or even just pet acupuncturists and chiropractors, they're becoming more popular. Like you said, they're not everywhere. It'd be nice if they were, but, there might be one within driving distance, so it doesn't hurt to get online and do a quick search.
There's hydrotherapy as well, right? Putting your dog into that pool and they kind of move in that warm flowing water. And again, that kind of goes back to the muscle health, maintaining muscle mass, and maintaining joint fluidity. And all of these things collectively, it's like a drop in the bucket, right? That not necessarily any one thing that's going to eradicate the pain, the discomfort, or prevent the aging process. But if you do a whole bunch of them and you layer them one on top of the other collectively and synergistically, they will really help to support your dog for a highest quality of life, both for the dog as well as for you as the dog owner.
And that's all we all want, right? That's all you want for your pets, is to just live a happy, healthy, comfortable life for as long as possible.
Absolutely.
A huge thank you to Dr. Gjivoje for being here on the podcast today and sharing her tips with us. As you heard, it's super important to plan ahead for your pet. Even if you have a puppy now, they are going to be seniors. So keep that in mind and start thinking about some of those changes that you need to make as your dog ages. Once they hit 4, 5, 6, start talking to your vet about some of the preventative things that you can do now, some of the things that you should be thinking about for the future, the timeline of when you should be thinking about that. It's different for different breeds. So, smaller breeds may not be considered seniors until later on, where giant breeds like Great Danes, are considered seniors at a much younger age. So, have that open conversation with your vet. Let them know that you are concerned about your pet's senior years and you want to stay on top of that stuff. And talk to them about a timeline of when you should be starting certain supplements, when you should be switching dog food to provide a different nutritional balance and that kind of thing, so that you're prepared and you know what's coming in the future. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email, jump on our website. You can go to the contact us page there. It's topdogtips.com. There's a link just below the podcast here, so you can check that out. No matter how you're listening, if you're listening online, if you're listening through a streaming service like iTunes, if you could take just a couple of minutes to leave a quick review, that really helps out when I'm reaching out to experts to, approach them about coming on the podcast. I can show them that you guys are out there listening, you enjoy it, and you're looking for more information. So a quick review really helps me out. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. I'll be back with another hot topic next week.